What's that?
Jess knows what time it is. It's mule and donkey time. Every time you hear that dog bark, it means there's a countdown video playing.
Jess the Border Collie says it's official when I start telling you it's official.
That's right. That's right. We don't begin until Jess barks. So thank you, Jess. We appreciate the permission. Folks, welcome to this August 1st, 2023 edition of Ask Steve, Mule and Donkey Questions Answered. My name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every week we get together for an hour to answer as many mule and donkey questions as we can. What questions asked by you. And we'll give you the information. We'll tell you as best we can. You get out there, put it to work, and hopefully it'll work for you. We believe that it will. And if it doesn't, come back to us because we want to make sure that equine, we want to make sure that mules, donkeys, spending time with them, training them on the ground, riding, driving, packing, whatever you're doing is fun and rewarding. It shouldn't be, it's going to be a challenge, but it shouldn't be frustrating nonstop. It shouldn't be disheartening. It should be something that brings you joy, even joy in the hardness of it, right? Everything you want is on the other side of hard. And so you just got to work hard, but you can also work smarter by knowing what to do. And that's what we hope to bring you here. Like I said, my name's Dave. This is Steve. There's really only three things that we ask that you do. First is that you share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like. You can do that in the comments section. Absolutely free to do that too. At least as of now, you don't have to pay to make a comment on Facebook or YouTube. So we'd love to hear from you. Your name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. Dave O'Brien setting a great example for you all there over on Facebook. Second thing we ask is that you share with us any and every mule or donkey question that you've got. There's no dumb questions. There's no questions we've been asked too many times. There's no repetitive questions. There's only the questions that you haven't asked yet, and those are the ones that we want. So go ahead, ask the question. We'll get you the answer as best we can. I've got a few collection of questions here that I'm going to ask, but this program is driven primarily by you, Dave O'Brien, and everybody else hanging out with us today. You're the ones that's going to be driving this conversation, and we really look forward to hearing from you. The third thing that we ask is that you share the broadcast, especially if you've been watching for a while and you haven't shared the last several weeks. Please go ahead and share it out to your friends on Facebook or your friends on YouTube, wherever you like to watch. We would love to, we'd just love to have you share it so that other folks can find this program and hopefully find it as helpful as you have. Before we get into saying hello to everyone, I want to get right into asking a question. This one comes in from Alexa. Alexa sent in a question yesterday saying, is it necessary to put shoes on my mule? I am in Austria and going walking and hiking in the mountains. I want to do orientation riding one day. So Steve, is it going to be necessary for Alexa to put shoes on the mule?
Dave, I am glad you asked that question because I'm really kind of sad. And let me read this to you. One of our mule riders, she sent this to me. She saw it on Facebook. She said, hello, Steve. Not sure if you've seen this in Facebook, but it really twists my biscuit. That they would take a mule into the Bob Wilderness and not put shoes on. Just makes me crazy. The pain that mule suffered before he finally stopped and said, enough. So sad. Just thought I would share in case you wanted to share an example on your question and answer. Love them. Love the question and answer. All right, now get this now, Dave, and everybody else out there in mule and donkey world. You've heard me say, don't you care about your mule? And I understand this, okay, that a lot of you are newbies, and you hear about these guys say, yes, put any saddle on them. Oh, just any bit, it'll be just fine, yeah. And they feel, they're easier to keep than horses. They don't eat as much than horses. Oh, you don't have to put shoes on them. You don't have to do as much vet work. All a bunch of, I'm going to be nice, Dave, BS. Yes, okay? Now get this. I want to read this now. This come off of Facebook. So it's not like it's not public knowledge. And I am not going to say who it was that this happened with, but here it goes. Hey everyone. 2 of my children and I went into the Bob Marshall July 10th from the Benchmark Trailhead to visit the Chinese Wall. We took 3 saddle horses and borrowed, and get this now, here comes, it was somebody else's fault and not mine. Listen to this. In parentheses, and unfortunately left an unshod mule despite my invitation to my friend to have him shod. Okay, so it's my friend's fault. It's not me. It's not my fault, but it's my friend's fault for not having him shod and ready to go into the Bob Marshall wilderness. All right? Now get this. Okay? He was a John mule. And he got very sore-footed and would not travel past where we camped at the bottom of White River Pass. Get this now. Here's the part that hurts, y'all. Here comes the stupidity. We ended up leaving him, and they give the coordinates where they left him, and we're forced, now, it's somebody else's fault, we're forced to unload him and load the pack saddle on one of our saddle horses. Double stacked the riding saddles on another horse and headed back to the bit. Don't you feel sorry for him? You know, the mule's so sore-footed that he can't hardly walk, and they have to leave him. And we were forced to do this. Oh, poor me. Now look. Let me read a little bit more, Dave. Dave, can you tell I'm upset? You know, we ended up leaving the mule. Okay, we ran into a crew at Mule's Wilderness Adventures who were heading back into White River at the 12th. And they attempted, hear this? This is from the 4th to the 12th. We're talking 8 days. He's back in grizzly country. 8 days, he's back in the Bob Marshall, all right? We ran into a crew, and they tried to take him out July 18th. Now we're talking 10 days, but he still would not walk on the rocky trail. According to one individual, a group with a pack stream may have taken him out and back to Benchmark on the 21st of July. Yeah. We rode back in and out there yesterday. A long day. Oh, a long day. It was so sad. A long day without any sign of him. Yeah. If anyone out on the trail riding and packing in the community has any information about this whereabouts or could pass this along to anyone else, I would be forever grateful. This mule belongs to a great friend. Oh, hear that? Wow. Isn't that, Dave, am I being overprotective here or over what? Okay.
Yeah.
Desperately to locate him and get him back home to his owner, who will be making the other pack trips this summer and fall with him and will shoe him from now on. Well, now you would think, Dave, mule people and donkey people, you would think that this guy's a beginner, that this guy didn't have a whole lot of knowledge to say, shoe the mule or I ain't taking him. All right, now, you ready? Here it comes. This guy's a veterinarian. Yeah. This guy's a veterinarian. Who should know better? Darn it, you know? It's frustrating. Here it is, somebody that's a professional who knows livestock. And from what I've read in there and read throughout the internet, he's a big animal livestock guy. But here it goes to show you, folks. Yeah, people can make mistakes. Anybody can make mistakes. including professionals, including me, professional, with training mules. But there are some basics that you all need to understand. Number one, these mules don't need to be out on a pasture feeding all the time. Don't put them out there. You're killing them. Okay? That's number one. Number two, shoe them. They need to be shod. I'll guarantee you this little mule, as well as probably 80% of mules out there, need to be shod. Why? The biggest reason is contracted heels. So instead of having a nice wide heel, so you can have a nice, fat, healthy frog, which pumps healthy blood up and down the leg, instead, the heels are contracted. They're not nice and wide, because when them heels come around, it takes the frog and it makes it smaller. And now we don't have the blood up down the leg. But I'm going to go back in the Bob Wilderness and I'm going to go, oh, come on. You've got to have your mule ready physically. Now, not just the shoeing. No. You should be ahead of time prepping your mule, donkey, horse if you can't afford a mule. You should be preparing them for this trip. You should be preparing them for this trip. Now I'm going moose or buffalo hunting this Thursday. I'm going to be gone for 18 days. Do you think I've been sitting on my butt thinking, oh boy, I'm going to go buffalo hunting? No. I've been exercising more, drinking a lot of water, hydrating myself. Listen, folks, hydration is yesterday. It's not today. Getting dehydrated just is tough on your body. I've been preparing ever since I got this tag. I've been preparing for this hunt. And not just this hunt, I've got a couple others as well. I've been preparing mentally and physically for it. I've been doing electrolytes. I've been walking. I've been doing probably 18 to 20,000 steps a day around this ranch, doing things, prepping, getting them ready. I did the same thing with my mules when we were getting ready to do some pack trips or working cattle or anything. I started preparing them ahead of time. I started feeding them accordingly. I didn't just keep throwing them the same amount of feed. I started feeding them grain accordingly, working them accordingly, preparing them. When I put them in the mule trailer, to go my trip to Montana or Wyoming or Colorado or down to the Andrada Ranch, I gave them electrolytes to prepare them. What am I doing here? What am I doing? I'm taking care of a mule that depends upon me. That gives me the joy, that gives you the joy. That donkey the same way. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking care of this animal because he don't need to be like this guy here, folks. And I'm about to blow a cork because I can't believe somebody with the credentials that this man has got didn't take the time to take care of that mule. Here's the problem, folks. We only think about the end of it. We don't think of preparation to get to it. The riding is not the important part. The preparation, the picking up the feet, the making sure the teeth are floated, making sure the back are really good shape, making sure the feet are shod, making sure that he's hydrated. The biggest problem with mules when it comes to getting out here on a trail, at least people think it's really cool. Yeah, my mule don't drink much. Yeah, your mule is very, very dehydrated. And this, I'll tell you this too. On top of it, they are careful about taking care of themselves. And when they smell chlorine and stuff like this in the water, they're not so apt to drink it. They'd rather stay without water than they would do that. Or something's not quite right, they'd rather do without it. In other words, their natural ability says, take care of me. Take care of the mule. Now, when they're in a crowd, they depend on you and I. So going back to this lady's question, this fits perfect, Dave. I don't know how it could have been more perfect because I was already sad about it when they sent me this email, okay? And am I going to call this guy? Oh, yeah. And Dave, it's going to be awful hard to put my Jesus on, but I'm going to do it. Okay. And I'm going to see where this guy's coming from. I can tell you folks, I've been cowboying and ranching and packing freight and driving wagons and close to 50 years. Okay. I'm 74 now. And I learned by the school of hard knocks. That saddle is not a mule saddle. It's my saddle. Nothing like anybody else's. My bit is nothing like anybody else's. Now, how did I learn this? I learned this from what I learned from the mule. I listened to my mule. I listened to it. What's wrong with you? What's going on? So going back, Dave, going back to this gal, yeah. And besides that, I want you to thinking about fixing the contraction on his heels. Because if you got a little tiny frog, you're not helping that mule out, And I know a lot of you end up getting a mule from somebody. Dave, the stories that I just heard a lady today. She's supposed to buy an 8-year-old mule. And the vet come out to see why it wasn't gaining weight. He was 23 years old. Now, folks, we can say, okay, I just didn't know. But if you're in the business, in the equine business of being a trainer, you're in the business of being a veterinarian, you're in the business of selling saddles, you should know about these animals to know how they go in order to give them the right information. Now, how would you like it if you went to a doctor and he says, you know what, until we do these tests, no, he start cutting on you right away? No, doggone it. He's got to do preparation to get there. Okay, Dave, I'm done. I could keep on going, but I'm frustrated.
Well, yeah. What the thing is for folks who hang out with us every week, they know that we talk about shoeing quite a bit, and the reason why is because the mule gets his foot from the donkey, and the donkey has the worst foot of all of the equine.
Exactly.
And if you don't have a good foot, you don't have a mule. Everything relies on these feet, not just being usable, but being healthy and good. And so, there's so much that goes into healthy shoeing, and then there's so much goes into corrective shoeing because of all of the mistakes, whether you meant to make them or not, or whether it's neglect or you were just trying hard. Sure. But so much goes into the corrective shoeing in order to recover that foot, because without a foot, you don't have an animal. I remember, and that's why we started off by saying, hey, we'll tell you what works for us, and then you can go out there. There's been plenty of times we've been in a clinic, shoeing in particular, where folks will say, well, I've never had to shoe my animal. Well, okay, that's fine. If that's working for you, go for it. Steve, you'll come back and you say, I've had to shoe just about every single one of mine. But maybe you have the mule that doesn't need a shoe on the foot. So it's something that we talk about quite often. And so, Alexa, I hope that helps you. I hope you heard a resounding yes from Steve. And then if you have any questions on top of that, do feel free to reach out to us and let us know. We do have an entire video on muleranch.com all about shoeing. You can do it yourself. It takes practice. But there's a video there, and so many folks think that they need a veterinarian or a professional trainer to do each professional farrier to do every little thing for them. And maybe occasionally you do, and maybe there are some things that should only be done by a professional. But a lot of your training and even some of your minor doctoring and corrective shoeing, that can be learned how to do by you. And we've got the resources at muleranch.com. So that's great. We appreciate it. Thanks for the question. Dave O'Brien from East Texas, where it's 102 and humid. Rory is watching from Southwest Ohio. Beautiful today. Hitting the trails tomorrow, hopefully. Johnny is watching from Lufkin, Texas. And Christina is watching from Alberta, Canada. That means right off the bat, we've gone international. It's 35 Celsius. Very hot and very dry. Christina, it's 110 here. Not Celsius, though. Fahrenheit. Actually, might be like 108 today, but it's hot.
Is that the same Christina that was at my clinic in Montana?
Christina, were you at the clinic in Montana? She's from Alberta, Canada, Steve. Dave O'Brien says, I was having trouble getting my Molly to accept the Martingale and double twisted wire snaffle bit. So real quick for folks watching, part of Steve's bit program, you start with ground foundation training, and that's with the come along rope. And then you move into surcingle training, and that's first done with a surcingle and the rope halter. And then you move into the Mule Rider's Martingale, which is a combination bit and bridle that are designed to work together. And that is also done with surcingle training, but you introduce the bit. And so that's where he's at in the process. I was having trouble getting my Molly to accept the Martingale and double twisted snaffle bit. I took a step backwards and started putting the bit in her mouth only. We've been doing the 3, 6, 9, 12 times and it's working great. She's accepting the bit now. Your suggestion of using honey also worked, but made sort of a sticky mess with my fingers, I'll bet. Real quick, tell folks what Dave is describing here, because we've got a database, Steve. I've got almost 5,000 videos. Folks don't know this. I've got almost 5,000 videos of you, Steve, talking about these things, and we're putting them in this library that's going to be available for customers to be able to go in and put in Mule Rider's Martingale or snaffle, double twisted wire snaffle bit. And all of a sudden, 10, 15, 20 videos are going to pop up of you talking about that bit. We're going to include this video in there. So talk to us a little bit about what Dave was working on here.
Okay, folks. Number one thing, again, we think about an end result rather than these steps to get to them. Now, I wish I could tell you I could get all of that in one video, but I can't, as David said about all of the videos that we have. Now, here's what you have to think about, is this finger right here, okay? This is very, very important, because when you take and put your hand on the mouth, that middle finger is going to rub on the bars. This is the bar of the mouth right here, okay? That finger is going to rub on the opposite side. You're on the near side, so on the off side, that finger is going to come around. Notice how I've got my hand underneath here, and it's going to rub the bars of that mouth. And as you're rubbing the bars of that mouth, his head's going to drop because it feels good to him. Feels good. And he drops his head. And at the same time, you want the head to tip to the left. Now, Dave was just showing me about a video where I was teaching you all how to teach the mule to drop his head and move his head to the left. Now, I don't know if we got a link to that video or not, Dave, but that'll give people an idea. See, folks, the steps is this. First of all, the mule has to be mentally and physically ready. So, mentally, I'm giving him a little rub and kind of petting on him. And I put my hands on his head, right hand up on behind the ears, left hand on the nose, and there's no pressure. I'm not pushing down. I just hold it there. And then when the mule drops his head to get away from my hands, there it is. Watch this. See, when people pull, look what happens. Okay, now watch. And I'm putting the come along hitch on. You see where that mule's head is the whole time? Right there. Now watch, she just left. So now what am I going to do? It's not important for me to put the come along hitch on. Now watch. Watch, get ready. Look at that. What am I doing? I'm bringing her head over. Now I'm teaching her what I taught her in the very beginning. Keep your head over there. As long as you keep your head there, I'm not going to put my hands on you. See? Now I'll take it off. Now watch this. Now it looks like I'm pulling on her, but I'm not really. I just kind of touching her nose. What you're not seeing is that middle finger again is actually putting the pressure on the nerve just above the corner of the mouth, and that actually makes him come over there quicker. But you see, it's not important to put that come along hitch on. It is important that the head is down and the nose tipped to the left. When the head is down, all 5 neck muscles are loose. When the head is down, they loosens at the pole, and you tip the nose to the left. Now I'm working with the left brain. Okay? Now I'm working with the left brain. Watch me. Asking the head over, come over first. Asking the head, come over first. She's kind of pressing me a little bit. I'm waiting. By the way, here we go. Right ear first, left ear second. I do the right ear first, keep the head on. By the way, Dave, we got a client in British Columbia that is deaf, and she really appreciates you putting the wording in there.
Yeah, that's something that I've started to do. It's become a lot more affordable. It used to be real expensive to do that sort of thing, but now it's become a lot more affordable to add the words. And you know what? I appreciate it too, because a lot of times Sandra does not want to hear the same thing that I'm watching. She's watching her Hallmark shows, and I'm watching assassin movies. And so just having the closed captions, I appreciate that, because I can watch my Jason Bourne or my, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and she can watch her, Home is Where the Heart Is.
Yes. Okay, so going back to this finger here, with it rubbing on the bars of the mouth, that gets the mule to drop his head to open his mouth. Then when you hold that bit, as it shows in that video, Dave, the video where I show you how to put it in the mule's mouth, that's the most important part right there, folks, because as you open this up, and as you open your hand, the thumb and the finger below the middle finger, okay, they hold the bit apart. While my middle finger rubs on the bar, you see how my hand is? So the middle finger is rubbing on the bar. My pointer finger and the other finger, my thumb and this finger are holding the bit apart, while my middle finger is rubbing on the bar, and then I slide it in. Folks, Dave is very smart. Put the bit in first a few times. Then put it up over top of the head. You see, sometimes some of these animals have to have it a step at a time. A step at a time. And they see every move is a picture. That's okay. But when the head comes up, folks, you stop. If the head changes, you're putting on a bridle, you're putting on a halter, you're putting on a come-along hitch. The head does not come up. The head is always down right here, just like you've seen in that video.
Awesome. Love hearing that. Thanks, Dave. You know we love hearing from you. Sherman Johnson Taxidermy, hopefully getting a call from Steve here in the next several little bits. We get a taxidermy of buffalo, Steve.
Yeah, boy. I can't wait to eat a buffalo burger.
That's right. Did I tell you that I got a griddle? I got a Blackstone griddle.
Did you? Oh, yeah, you did.
Oh, man. You said buffalo burger. I've been doing smash burgers, and they are incredible. They're so good. I've been doing bacon out there on it. I've been doing eggs. I did some fried rice. I did the burgers. Oh, man, I'm getting hungry now. Okay, Merlin Olson, Northwest Minnesota, 85 degrees and sunny. There is bad weather to the south of us, but we are not supposed to get it. Hopefully you don't, Merlin. It stays south and dies out down there. We're praying for you. Mari is watching 85 degrees Missouri. Jim is watching Western Maryland, 78 and sunny. Dave says, I made reservations to come. See you at the American Mule and Bluegrass Festival, Steve. Looking forward to it. I also bought my ticket for the mule raffle. She's young and ready for the Steve Edwards Foundation training. Proceeds go to our veterans. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. So Steve is traveling out to Shelbyville, Tennessee. He's going to be there last weekend, first weekend of October. It's the American Mule and Bluegrass Festival, and it takes place right at the end of September, first day or two of October. It's a multi-day festival, live music, lots of family games and activities, and there's going to be different equine events there with mules, and featuring for the second year in a row, Steve Edwards. They've asked Steve to come back, and this is a special event. Steve, why don't you tell them why it's special to you?
It's special to me because it's the veterans that we're helping. Anytime I can help out a veteran, they've done more for us than we can even begin to say. So if I can take a little time out of my schedule and go and help these men and women that have served our country in a variety of ways in armed forces, I'm going to do it. And that's what they do. They take and they've actually got a group that a soldier comes to them and tell them, okay, I was in Vietnam from 68 to 70. And these are some of the things that I've done. And then they'll do a song with this guy and they'll teach him a song and he'll make up a song with them. And they'll actually give him a song about his time in Vietnam or, some other things too. About some guys talk about how his wife is at home and she's been a good wife and da da da. Anyway, it's helping the veterans, and that's why I'm going. It's Marty Ray he loves mules and donkeys. He's passionate about them. He's the one putting on this show, and he does wonderful. And Bluegrass, they're playing bluegrass music as well. Lots of mules, lots of things going on. There's going to be a wagon train. I'm actually going to do a little bit more hands-on. So if somebody has a mule that they want me to train on, now I'm just not going to train on them. I'm going to train on the mule and them. Okay. So if you got some mule, get a hold of me. I'll be more than happy to working with you there in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Awesome. I put a link in the comment section. Y'all go check that out. Be real cool to have you there. Susan says 3-month-old mini mule that is handled every day. She will cow kick when she doesn't want to do something. Any advice here for Susan? Is that normal?
Yes, that's normal because that is, I don't want you to do that. Well, wait a minute. If I'm feeding you any hole that I want to stick my finger in or anything I want to do, no cow kicking, because that is right there. That's saying, I don't care about you. I'm the leader. You're not the leader. So what am I going to do? Vengeance is going to be Steve's. Okay. And what I mean by that is I'm going to have the come along hitch on that little mule ready to go. I'm not going to take a whip and beat on him or anything like that, like I've seen some other people do. When you want to teach a mule yes and no, this is right and this is wrong, you do it from their nose. You bump their nose. That makes it right and wrong. Ask, tell, demand. So if that little bugger kicks at me, I'm going to rip his nose off. Yes, you heard the words. Kind-hearted Steve, who loves his mules and donkeys, I will not put up with taking it and saying, I'm going to tell you by hurting you. Now, it's different if it's just a little tiny pick up the foot and kind of drop it down. But if they actually cow kick, that means somebody. That means kicking forward, guys. It means you can stand at the nose and that little mule can still kick you. All right? So let's go on. Put the come along hitch on and do it in small ways. Take you maybe like the end of a fishing pole or something like that and go down and touch somewhere. And if that little mule kicks, or a quirk or a whip or a stick, the little mule kicks, rip his nose off. And then the next time, try to do it. He tries to do it a little bit less, then you don't do quite so much. Okay. In other words, for as vicious as he's going to be, you be that same way. Ask, tell, demand. Pretty soon you'll get to where you got the come along hitch on there, and that little mule will respond to you and do everything we want to do. Matter of fact, that come along hitch is the most sought after communication tool that we've got in our library out there.
All right. Let's see here. Continuing on. Paolo is watching. Says, hello, Steve. I'm wondering what age is best to get a mule for my boy and I to train. We will train him together in flat and hot lands. We have no experience with animals. Well, you got a boy. Sometimes these boys live like animals. I could tell you I got 3 of them and I confuse them for sloths. So you got more experience than you know, Paolo. What do you say, Steve?
Right. You're going to see on one of my video series, Colt starting, you're going to see 5 people there that have never trained before, have never rode a bronc before, and you're going to see how easy it is, Okay, it's not difficult. How pretty easy it is to work on. Now, it's kind of toward the end finishing. It's not the beginning from the very groundwork, because you would start with the ground communication kit to the mule rider's martingale with the halter. The surcingle with the halter, then the mule rider's martingale with the surcingle, and on into saddle, da 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 da. So yes, you know what? I'm going to tell you that any age is going to be good. Even if you buy an older, quote, trained mule, they're still going to be full of holes, and you can still fix them. The nice thing about something that has basically been halter broke, as the word is used, is there's not a lot of garbage with it, okay? So you'll get a chance to put the garbage on yourself. So buy a weanling, 6 months old, when you're being weaned. It's nice to get them started that way. Can they be a handful? Oh, yeah. Folks, even in a baby, by disposition. If that baby wants to come to you and kind of be with you and this sort of thing, by disposition. If he's aloof and wants to stay away from you, we ain't going to look at that mule, okay? I don't care if he's 30 years old or if he's 3 months old, okay? Here's the deal. By disposition. Now, can you tell much about conformation? Not really at 6 months age, okay? Usually by 3, I can usually get a pretty decent idea of conformation. So the downside of buying a younger mule is you're not really going to know much about the conformation. The good thing about it is that you can, from the very beginning, do the proper feet care so that your mule won't have contracted heels, won't be twisted footed, in other words, with a pigeon foot or toed in, and you can do stuff like that. But also remember, them younger colts, they can hurt you just as easy as the older ones can.
Yeah, no such thing as safe. Cowboy Ken, 74, clear, and a beautiful day in Connecticut. Christina says, at what age do you suggest to start shoeing the mule? Is it enough to just regularly trim their feet until they are ready to be ridden?
There's nothing wrong with regularly trimming their feet, okay? Matter of fact, you can do a lot of trimming on a young mule and get their feet balanced and starting to keep from contraction. The problem is, folks, this is what happens. You have a hoof, and it's nice and wide. Then you get a lot of moisture, and the foot walks around in all the mud. Okay? Now, get this. When the foot comes up, it contracts. When it goes down, it expands. Now, I'm over-exaggerating here, but that's kind of what the foot does. Okay? Not as much as what you see. You can't even really see it, but that's what the foot is doing, expanding and contracting. And when you have too much foot, when you have the wintertime, trim these feet short. Shorter the better, okay? Because when they're long, that is when you start getting the contraction. When you stub up the toe, that's when you start kicking back the hoof wall and this sort of thing. Let the foot naturally grow out and trim it accordingly. Now, what age? Usually when I'm going to start ponying or riding consistently, like about a year and 6 months to 3 years, I'm usually going to start shoeing about that time. Now, when I shoe, you'll see it in my videos, I only put 4 nails on. I only want nails in the front on the toe. I do not want to put nails back in the quarters where I can have quarter cracks. I want expansion of them heels. So every time that foot goes down, it expands. Every time it comes up, it contracts like it should. Okay? What you want it to do. So if I have nails in it, I can't get the expansion of that back hoof as much. That's when we get contracted heel. Now, when you put a shoe on, you should be able to put at least a dime all the way around the outside edge and see that shoe. You should see at least a dime there. A nickel would be better. Quarter's a little bit thicker. But see, if I got that, my foot can expand to that shoe. But if I got him shod tight, it can't expand. And that's when you start getting even more contraction. You already have a problem when it comes down to the donkey side because it's such a horrible foot. as you heard Dave say earlier. But now, when we don't properly trim them and keep them short, it's going to be a problem. Okay. Now, when I'm out there pounding them rocks, you just heard me talk about this guy. Took him into Bob Marshall Wilderness unshod. He's smart enough. He ain't going to go out there and get himself all crippled up. That you're riding a mule. You're around a mule, you know. And they darn sure are going to try to take care of themselves. You see the picture right here, right when I told you that story. So you get out there, you can sure enough ride them on them heavy rocks and stuff and keep them, help them. You're not 100% with this, even with a shoe. You're not 100%. You're going to get not get a sore foot. Every bit possible. Everybody who rides a mule, horse as far as that goes, should learn how to tack on a shoe. If you could take a nail and put it in a board, you can take and put a nail in a mule's foot. No problem. Easy. Simple. Okay? Really simple. Really easy to do. It really is. Okay? All you got to do is have that shoe a little bit ahead so that you're not getting down into the bone. Okay? Another story. So now here it is. Here's your foot. This is the hoof wall. Right here is your lamina. That's the white line. And then right here is what? The coffin bone. That's the part that the hoof wall and the lamina are protecting. And when those are all nice and together, by golly, we're doing good. Here's what happens. We get out and get to riding, and we get a gravel right here in this, between the white line and the outside wall. And we start getting that gravel climbing up, and then it comes out at the hairline. And guess what? Now we got separation of the lamina. Separated from the outer wall. Now we can have all kinds of bacteria get packed in there in the way of mud and manure and urine. Yes. Now we got some problems. Okay. So folks, yes, shod, important. Usually by 3 o'clock, 3 years old, I am consistently shoeing my mules. Okay. Consistently.
All right. Moving right along here. Marcia says, cool and beautiful today in Virginia. Hi, guys. 25 degrees Celsius and sunny here in the forest, Ontario, Canada. I really want to thank Steve for his frank and honest advice. Had a new 5-year-old mule come in last fall here. Couldn't catch her though. Thanks to Steve's advice, I have caught her and started out foundation work. Had the farrier out here yesterday and vet today, and she, the mule, did a great job. I really would like to thank Steve for your advice and guidance. More to come. Cheers. How cool is that, Steve?
Oh, man. I just had my payday right there.
That's right.
I just had my payday. What was her name?
Her screen, Juan Hook McGee.
Juan Hook McGee. Okay.
That's what it says, Juan Hook McGee.
I just sent some tack, saddles, and this sort of thing to Ontario, so I didn't know if it was the same person or not. But anyway, yeah, that's wonderful. I love hearing that. You know,
it is fun. Joseph says heat index 103 in Boston Mountains of Northwest Arkansas. Paulo says, Dave, please answer me. We are going to get a mule shipped into our area and train him. What age is the... Oh, okay. So we just talked about that. Paulo, we're getting to it. Here we go. Myra's watching from Southern California. Christina says, yes, it's me, Steve. So that is the Christina from the Montana Clinic.
She was awesome. She was right in there wanting to learn, wanting to try, asking lots of questions. Christina was awesome. Thanks for coming.
That's the best. That's what you want. Myra's watching, sunny, humid, 90 degrees here. Mark is watching from Wetaskiwin, Alberta. Wetaskiwin.
Yeah.
Wetaskiwin, Alberta, Canada. There we go. International. Did I say it right, Mark? I'm trying my best. Beautiful sunny day here. Gregory is watching, looking to get a new mule. My current one is getting slow and tired, around 20 years old. Is that what happens to teenage boys too? When they get to around 20, they just get slow and tired and they don't want to work. I like to have a fresh mule around 5 to 15 years old. Any older than that, and they are considered useless by me. I run my mules as fast as I can. It is a family tradition, fun gallop, and we have never used shoes. It's unnatural, and any old cowboy would laugh at you if you ever suggest that to them. Okay, well, you know what, Gregory? That's why we say we'll say what works for us. You do what works for you. Sounds like you got a family tradition, and keep on keeping on. I hope it works out for you there. Any questions you got about the new mule, Gregory? Because we're happy to help you. Just trying to be helpful here and sharing what we've learned, over these last 40, 50 years. Judy from Northern California, hot with the breeze. Yam is watching. 20 years is my prime of life for a mule. Stupid comment. Okay, all right, here we go. Mari says, you are talking about shoeing, and the only reason I haven't is because of the cost. So can I shoe my own without getting a ton of equipment for doing that? It scares me to get the shoes red hot. So we did talk about it, Steve. Anything you want to add to what we've already discussed?
Yeah. You don't have to heat these new shoes up. You don't have to do that. You can use a St. Croix shoe. They're really easy to shape, really easy to work with. You do not need to heat them and move them around. Now, if you're going to do some serious corrective work, yes, okay, you're going to be using that forge. But I can tell you that I had a forge for a couple of years, and I finally just sold it because I enjoyed playing with it too much, making things with it, But anyway, going back to the guy that runs his mules, congratulations. I'm glad you're happy with that. I can tell you that the old cowboys around here, they would laugh at you if you didn't have shoes on, and a lot of them would get pretty tough with you. But look, if it works for you and you're working with it, good for you. You're one in a jillion that I can talk to. That has talked like this, because normally most people are just like this guy here with his sore-footed mule, got him sore-footed in a short time. So if you're doing that, man, you're one in a million. Congratulations.
That's right. And hey, that's just a great example. We won't shy away from any topic here. We won't say it's our way or the highway. We'll talk to you and tell you what's been working for us. And if you decide to go a different direction, well, that's your prerogative. But we're here trying to be helpful. We're not trying to go around messing with people. So let's see here. Marcia says, should be great weather that time of year. John, Bluegrass is the worst music under the sun. Well, you have not been to the American Mule and Bluegrass Festival, my friend, because it is incredible. So incredible that they're doing it again. So maybe this is the type of thing you need in your life, John. Some live bluegrass, and at the very least, some live mule and equine and festivities. So hopefully that'll be fun there. Barb says, hi, Steve and Dave. 84, partly cloudy in Sullivan, Missouri. I was so excited when I opened my current issue of Mules and More magazine and saw a picture of Dave and Di from Australia. Never met them, but have heard so much about them from you. Nice to see them in pictures. There we go. That's awesome. Let's see here. Christina says, thank you, Steve. I'm glad I came and I learned a lot. We're very, very welcome, Christina. We're so happy to have you here. Mark says, I'm laughing at you watching pronounce Wetaskiwin. There we go. You finally got it. Yes. There we go. I got it. Marsha says, I love bluegrass music, and so do my mules. Yes, they do, Marsha. I remember you messaging in. Rachel sent a message saying, have a baby mule with a giant head. I'm looking for corrective sizing. Any comments there on mules with giant heads?
Well, I got bridles and that'll work on all of them, I learned a long time ago that I can't have a bridle for every single mule that I've trained over the years. So the bridles that I have, both leather and beta, are great. I can fit anything I want to fit, from a Percheron mule down to a 13-2 pony mule. So not a problem. We got it. The darn mosquito. I'm going to catch it. I got it. I'm gonna put my bridle on him.
Man, you need to get the bug guy out there. It seems like we got mosquitoes every single week, Steve.
What do you think of that bridle, man? It fits that mosquito really good.
Looking good there. Yeah, that bridle can be now. It's going to have a lot of extra give on it, but the rope halter can be sized down. Very rarely are you going to need your rope halter in training. You'll need it for single training, maybe a couple other things here. The come along rope, now that just will fit any animal, any size, because it's just a straight rope with a loop on the end, and it can be adjusted in and out. Now, when you're with minis, you're probably going to need to be down lower to the ground to get the type of leverage that you need to get the hitch to stay in the right location. But that has more to do with the height of the animal than it does the size of the rope. But the rope halter can be adjusted down, and the come along rope, it's one size fits all for the come along rope. Let's see here. What's that?
And the bridle she was talking about, I can pretty much fit everything with it.
Yeah. So that's good there. I had our next question pulled up here, and I lost track of it. Let me get it right back here. Shoot, I missed it, Steve. It was well, I had it, but it was a question about feed, and it seems like almost every single broadcast that we have, we get questions. We get questions about feed here, and so I'm trying to bring it back up. Well, don't you know it? I can't find. Oh, here we go. All right, I found it. Instead of oats and salt, what would you feed? Green, fresh grass? My mule started to trip a bit, so not sure if it's my saddle because I have no shoes on him. This is from Epicurean.
Okay, so my feeding program, Dave can put on there on a link to the video and also the article that I have on shoeing. On feeding, which is this is what I found has worked good for me over the years. It's my starting place, the ingredients in that article. So do I feed grain? I only feed grain when I'm getting ready to go to work. I know I'm going to be riding 6 to 8 hours that day. So I'll put a morale on them. While I'm saddling them, I'll grain them. I don't grain them every day. Don't do it, okay? But he can put a link on there for it and help you rock and roll. Make sure, most of all, that the teeth are balanced and correct.
Yeah, I put in the comment section, folks, if you want to check it out. We've got Steve's article, Mules Can't Stand Prosperity. This has exactly what Steve said. It is a starting point for your feed and nutrition program. Why a starting point? Well, because every mule's different. Just like we've got natural, our body produces things in natural abundance, and then there's also natural deficiencies. And somebody else's body, those deficiencies, maybe the body produces in abundance, but there's different deficiencies. Well, these equine are the same. There may be a natural abundance of a particular vitamin or mineral and a natural deficiency in another. So what you can do is you can get a blood sample test, or you can get a hair follicle sample test at an extension center, a local extension center. Lots of the universities have them. And so from there, you can see, okay, where is my animal actually at? And then start making decisions on what supplements you may need to give, what they may be deficient in their diet. Anything else to add to that, Steve?
No, you did good, buddy. You did great. That's it.
All right. So that one goes to our friend Epicurean. Okay. Where is my next question here? I lost track of it. Man, I can't find it. Well, we got 5 minutes left here. Steve, is there anything that's been on your mind while I'm looking for this question that I lost track of? Is there anything that you've been talking through or folks have been calling about?
Well, I have a lot of folks that call and, have got feeding problems, have got training problems and stuff. And really, it's pretty simple, folks. Like with the training aspects, you can do so much of this yourself that doesn't even get done by most of these trainers. There's a lot of good trainers out there, but folks, you got to remember, there has to be a rapport built with these mules and these donkeys. And if they already trust you, then why not take them a step at a time and enjoy the ride? Enjoy it. Just take your time, okay? The riding is not important part. It's not. Okay. It's building the foundation to get to the riding. That's what's really important. So you just enjoy these mules and donkeys. Take care of them. And even just remember, everybody can make mistakes. That's how I learned. That's how I learned this stuff. What has been working for me over these years is what I've learned from the mule. It's like the shoeing, the saddling, any of that stuff is what I learned from the mule, and that's why I'm here to share it. I really enjoy working with these animals. I love them. They're a wonderful, wonderful, precious gift that is for us to take care of. And I know I'm really upset talking about this mule that got left back in the wilderness for 15 days, and now don't even know where he's at. Folks, that's pretty frustrating. And so we're going to learn. I'm going to learn from this guy and see where he's coming from. I can tell you that I've done clinics all over the world, and I've learned every time I've gone and done clinics somewhere. And I've also can tell you that I've had professionals of all kinds come to my clinics and say, you know what? I never thought about that. That's something I got to get done. Or what can I do about this or that? Sharing information so that the mules and the donkeys will get the best for them.
Found the question, and it was from Daryl. Says, I purchased the downhill hip saddle pad, which I'm very happy with. And how do I clean it off? Is it just by hosing it off? How do I clean the saddle pad, Steve?
Okay, I guess maybe we should put that information in there, Dave. I've gotten a few phone calls over the years about that. And anyway, so let's go back. You don't have to hose this off, folks. Take a damp cloth and give it a wipe. I can tell you I've got saddle pads that's 15 years old that I probably haven't wiped twice. They just pretty much almost clean themselves. But you don't need to hose them down. You especially don't want to do that. It's perforated neoprene. It allows the sweat to go. So I can tell you that I've had older pads that I thought really I had to irrigate them to make it work. Nah, hardly had anything in there at all. So you can't get your mule clean enough when it comes down to the amount of dirt that's on him already. So don't worry about your pad. You'll be fine. I use Windex, spray a little Windex, and I wipe it off, and I'm done. Then take a damp cloth, and I'm done with it. That's it, Dave.
Next question here. This will be, I think, maybe the last one for the day. This one is from Russell. Thoughts about Spurs and which one is recommended?
Okay, so Spurs, we've got a clinic that we had done and talked about Spurs. Dave can give you a track to it. But here's the spur. The spur is going to depend on your legs, how low it is below the body, and it's going to depend on the type of work that you're going to be doing, and also if you're going to be wearing chaps, because you need a chap guard. So spurs are very intricate as far as a wonderful tool. You ask with your calf, you tell the side of your stirrup, you demand the spur. Spurs, I ride everything with spurs. I don't ride without spurs. Always do, okay? So sometimes it may be a long shank, straight, because I can go directly to my animal. Another time, the belly is up higher, so my heel's down here. So I have to have a lady leg shoe, so it has to be spurs, so it has to be kind of crooked to come up to the animal's belly. And sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. So it really depends on the animal and what I'm riding in as to what type of spur shank that I'm going to use. Now, let me just show you one here. Here's a spur that I've got, okay? Now, this spur is a file blade. You can see the file blade here on it. It's a file blade. And of course, Trinity cross, okay? And some silver bars across here, and then the rowel. Now notice how this shank is kind of gooseneck shape. You see that? That's because the shank needs to come up a little bit in order for me to touch his body correctly. So this shank is going to be really important as to where your leg is, because if you have to bring your leg up to get his body with this spur, you're going to be given a different cue with your leg. Because remember, they hear you and feel you from your hip to your toes. So how you move your body is how they are going to move. So here's my shank. You see I got jingle bobs on them right there, okay? And I do have a chain that goes underneath the heel. You don't always have to do that. It happens to be that's the way we design these particular spurs. I rarely use a heel chain. I usually always wear boots with a spur heel on them, so it has kind of a groove. And Dave, I don't know if we got a picture of my boots that I won that I had made when I won the world championship or not.
We don't have a picture of it. We've got video of it on previous broadcasts, but I don't know if we have an actual.
I think I've done that when we did the spur program.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can. Oh! I think I got it right here.
Look at you, Mr. Speedy.
Stand by.
So I actually have this custom-made pair of spurs that I had made several years ago that I've actually never wore. I just love spurs, so I like collecting them. So I've got these for sale, and don't think you're going to buy these for $50. Oh, here we go.
All right, I think I got it here. And I think right here is where you reach for them. I would adjust it, but I can only jump forward by like 10 seconds. Let's see. Here you go. Here he goes. Here he goes. Up. Here comes Steve Edwards. There he goes right there. Those are the boots you were talking about, right?
Yep. My stocker-legged mules. You can see the front of the mule with that head right there. That's the front of the mule. And then when you turn the boot around, you see the back of the mule on the back side. But that's the boots. And I don't know if I show the spur heel or not. I'm sure I'm talking about it right there. How important it has to have a spur heel on your boots so that your spur, you want them heavy too. You don't want a real light spur. You know, these boots are file. They're off of a file, these spurs. And so they're pretty heavy. Now you can see how that spur lays on that spur heel. That's a pair of riding boots that I've got. And notice the gooseneck shank there. Gooseneck shank and the rowel. That's another pair of spurs. You can see my initials on SE. I had those spurs made when I won another world championship with to match my boots, right? When you got to have a buckle for winning, you go.
Boots were made for winning, baby.
There you are.
That's
all right, buddy. Well, have a good one.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out. We appreciate it. We know you could be doing a lot of different things. The fact that you're here really does speak a lot to us, and we're honored that you would share your time. All of us can, we could figure out ways to go out there, make more money. We could figure out ways to go out there, make more memories, but you can't make more time. Can't figure out a way to make more time. So you just make the best of what you've got. And hopefully it was worth your time today being here. Can't wait to talk to you next. Steve, anything you want to say before we're all done here?
No, we'll be visiting with you in the future. I guess I'll see you tomorrow sometime around 11 o'clock or so.
It'll be good.
And then we're going to be talking to Ron Den from a ranch in Montana, good cowboy, good mule man. We'll be visiting with him. And then Thursday, I'm heading up to northern Arizona and hunting buffalo.
Folks, be watching these future broadcasts. There's going to be some fun stuff. God bless everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Blessed